Jocelyn Y. Filipino, your English 6 teacher for this lesson. Are you excited to learn something new today? Great! Stay with me because we will be discussing about the characters used in print, non-print, and digital materials. Have you asked yourself how to analyze the characters in print, non-print, and digital materials like age and gender, race and nationality, attitude and behavior? You have to follow me at the end of this lesson because you are expected to. First, analyze the characters in print, non-print, and digital materials. Second, realize the importance of analyzing the characters through their age, gender, nationality, attitude, and behavior in establishing good relationship with others. Third, recognize the value of characters in a story. Before we will start our lesson, let us first answer the pretest on what I know. You are going to choose the letter of the correct answer. Write it on your activity notebook. Good luck!
Number 1. Which of the following is not an example of a print text? Which of the following is not an example of a print text? A. Letter. B. Film. C. Stage play. D. Delivery of a speech. Number 2. Which of the following is an example of a non-print text? Which of the following is an example of a non-print text? A. Poem. B. Email. C. Essay. D. Movie. Number 3. The newspaper is an example of A. Print text, B. Non-print text, or C. Digital material, and lastly, both B and C. Number 4. Which of the following terms denote the author's collective description of the personality, habits, likes and dislikes of the characters in the story? Which of the following terms denote the author's collective description of the personality, habits, likes and dislikes of the characters in the story? Is it A. Character flaws, B. Character traits, C. Character details, or letter D. Cartoon characters? Number 5. Realizing the young girl couldn't swim, the onlooker dove into the dark, cold water to save her. Which one best described the onlooker? Again, realizing the young girl couldn't swim, the onlooker dove into the cold, dark water to save her. Which one best describes the onlooker? A. Brave. B. Proud. C. Angry. D. Is athletic. Number 6. Jenny has never been scared of anyone, yet she could not look at the teacher in the eyes after the letter has caught her telling a lie. Jenny is A. Class bully. B. Avoiding the teacher. C. Guilty of an act. Or letter D. Afraid of a failing grade. Number 7. As soon as Nanita woke up on a Saturday, she made her bed and then cooked breakfast for her family. She swept the floor and then watered the plants. How would you describe Neneta? How would you describe Neneta? Is it A. Thrifty, B. Hardworking, C. Honest, and D. Embarrassed? Number 8. Which of the following takes place within the mind of a character? The character then struggles to make a decision or take an action or overcome a feeling. Which of the following takes place within the mind of a character? The character then struggles to make a decision or take an action or overcome a feeling. A. Irony. B. Internal conflict. C. External conflict. Or D. Personification. Number 9. Rosa always cared for plants and animals. One day, she noticed that the plants outside of their house almost withered for lack of water. She immediately got a pail and a dipper, fetched water from the well, then watered the plants. What attitude of Rosa is shown here? Again, Rosa always cared for plants and animals. One day, she noticed that the plants outside of their house almost withered for lack of water. She immediately got a pail and a dipper, fetched water from the well, then watered the plants. What attitude of Rosa is shown here? A. Observant. B. Conscientious. C. Truthful. Or D. Strong. Last number. Due to the policy on home quarantine, everyone was forced to stay inside the house, especially those below 21 and above 59. However, Stephanie, 12, and her friends in the neighborhood would always go out after lunch to play in the backyard and shouting at the top of their voices, despite reminders from their parents. What attitude do they show? What kind of children are they? I repeat, due to the policy on home quarantine, everyone was forced to stay inside the house, especially those below 21 and above 59. However, Stephanie, 12, and her friends in the neighborhood would always go out after lunch to play in the backyard and shouting at the top of their voices, despite reminders from their parents. What attitude do they show? What kind of children are they? A. Happy-go-lucky. B. Hard-headed. C. Teenagers. Or D. Playful. Good luck, kids!
Are you done, kids? Excellent! At this time, let us examine the following pictures. Let us identify the type of setup that it shows.
Write A if it's structured or built in a studio, or B if it's on location. Write your answers in your notebook.
First, second, third, fourth picture. Here are pictures of famous fairy tale characters. Write one description on his or her attitude and or physical attributes based on the movie or book that he or she stared. Pick out your answers from the box.
Number 1 is Elsa from the movie Frozen. Choose a description which best describes her. Number 2 is Pinocchio from the movie Pinocchio. Choose a description which best describes him. Number 3 is Snow White from the movie Snow White. Choose a description which best describes her. Number 4 is Rapunzel from the movie Tangled. Choose a description which best describes her.
Finished, kids? Great! This time, I will be reading a story. You listen carefully and you follow in the screen.
The Tale of the White Squash by Maximo D. Ramos. There once lived a couple who had a squash plant that gave them food to eat every day. Despite being childless, both were happy for they liked nothing so much as boiled squash for dinner. One day, they discovered that they had eaten their last squash. They waited patiently, but no new fruit came. Oh God, they prayed for so much more squash fruit. Not long after, a white squash appeared. They were astonished, for it was the first white squash they had ever seen. The couple could hardly wait for the fruit to ripen as soon as it was big enough. The husband said, "Wife, pick the fruit." Before she opened it, she heard a voice from coming from inside the squash. "Please don't hurt me," said the voice. "Husband," cried the woman, "come here because the squash can talk." "Don't be a fool," replied her husband. "At your age, you ought to know that no squash would talk." "But please, do not hurt me," said the voice. Upon hearing it, the man took the knife himself and carefully cut the fruit open. Suddenly, right there in front of them, came out from the squash a beautiful baby. It stood up and smiled. "Thank you for letting me out," said the baby. After recovering from her astonishment, the wife proceeded to fetch water from the well. She spread a mat on the floor and laid the baby on it. She started to bath the baby, but to her surprise, the water splashed on the baby's body. It rolled down to the mat and became a sparkling piece of gold. Gazing at the treasure, the husband said, "We now have enough money to buy land." Do you like the story, kids? Now let us study this table. As you could see in the first column, it is written here the characteristics. So we have age, gender, race, nationality, and attitude. So we are going to identify the characteristic as to age of the wife, the husband, or the baby. Or in other words, the characters. So what's the age of the wife? Very good. What about the husband? Great. What about the baby? Excellent. Now let us move on about their gender. What is the gender of the wife? Yes, that's right. It's female. What about the husband? Very good. That's male. What about the baby? Great. What about the race? For the wife? Very good. What about the husband? Very good. What about the baby? Yes, still villager. Now their nationality. Okay. What about their attitude? The attitude of the wife. Yes, it is hardworking. For the husband? Yes, that's right. It's contented. And for the baby? Yes, it's courteous. So, do you understand their characteristics as to their age, gender, race, nationality, and attitude? Excellent! So, what does character refer to? That's right. Character refers to the people or animals involved in the story. What about age? Yes, it refers to the length of time a person or a thing has lived or existed. What does gender refer to? Very good. It refers to the sexual category. It's either male or female. What about race? It is a group of humans based on shared physical or social qualities into categories generally viewed as distinct by society. And for nationality, it is the status of belonging to a particular nation. And lastly, what is meant by attitude? Yes, attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that is reflected in person's behavior. Now let's read it together. Character refers to the people or animals involved in the story. Age refers to the length of time a person or thing has lived or existed. Gender refers to sexual category. Race is a group of humans based on shared physical or social qualities into categories generally viewed as distinct by society. Nationality is the status of belonging to a particular nation. And attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that is reflected in person's behavior. Now it's your turn to read it again. Good luck.
The items here will help you analyze the story better. Read with understanding and answer the questions that follow.
Number 1. The couple were very poor that they A. Ate only squash for their meals, B. Had no land to till, or C. Were childless, and D. Live in the forest. Number 2. One day they became sad because A. They had no child at all, B. Their squash plant withered and died, C. God did not listen to their prayers, and D. They had eaten the last squash. Number 3. All of the statements below are true about the couple except that they A. Prayed to God for a child, B. Were poor but very happy, C. Discovered a squash with a baby inside, or D. Bathed the baby. Number 4. Which of the following is not true about the baby? A. It came out of the squash. B. It cried when the lady was about to open the squash. C. It grew to be a handsome man. D. It became gold. Number 5. What attitude of the husband was revealed when he said, "We now have enough money to buy land"? A. Lazy, B. Ambitious, C. Hardworking, D. Both B and C.
Are you done? Very good. At this point, we will be reading another story.
The Monkey and the Turtle. A monkey, looking very sad and dejected, was walking along the bank of the river one day when he met a turtle. "How are you?" asked the turtle, noticing that he looked sad. The monkey replied, "Oh, my friend, I am very hungry. The squash of Mr. Farmer were all taken by the other monkeys, and now I am about to die from want of food." "Do not be discouraged," said the turtle. "Take a bolo and follow me, and we will steal some banana plants." So they walked along together until they found some nice plants which they dug up, and then they looked for a place to set them. Finally, the monkey climbed a tree and planted his in it. But as the turtle could not climb, he dug a hole into the ground and set his there. When their work was finished, they went away, planning what they should do with their crop. The monkey said, "When my tree bears fruit, I shall sell it and have a great deal of money." And the turtle said, "When my tree bears fruit, I shall sell it and buy 3 varus of cloth to wear in place of this cracked shell." A few weeks later, they went back to the place to see their plants and found that of the monkey was dead, for its roots had no soil in the tree, but that of the turtle was tall and bearing fruit. I will climb to the top so that we can get the fruit, said the monkey. And he sprang up the tree, leaving the poor turtle on the ground alone. Please give me some to eat, called the turtle. But the monkey threw him only a green one and ate all the ripe ones himself. When he had eaten all the good bananas, the monkey stretched his arms around the tree and went to sleep. The turtle, seeing this, was very angry and considered how he might punish the thief. Having decided on a scheme, he gathered some sharp bamboo which stuck all around under the tree, and then he exclaimed, "Crocodile is coming! Crocodile is coming!" The monkey was so startled at the cry that he fell upon the sharp bamboo and was killed. Then the turtle cut the dead monkey into pieces, put salt on it, and dried it in the sun. The next day, he went to the mountains and sold his meat to other monkeys who gladly gave him squash in return. As he was leaving them, he called back, "Lazy fellows, you are now eating your own body. You are now eating your own body." Then the monkeys ran and caught him and carried him to their own home. "Let us take a hatchet," said one old monkey, and cut him into very small pieces. But the turtle laughed and said, "That is just what I like. I have been struck with a hatchet many times. Do you not see the black scars on my shell?" Then one of the other monkeys said, "Let us throw him into the water." At this, the turtle cried and begged them to spare his life, but they paid no heed to his pleadings and threw him into the water. He sank to the bottom, but very soon came up with a lobster. The monkeys were greatly surprised at this and begged him to tell them how to catch lobsters. "I tied one end of a string around my waist," said the turtle. "To the other end of the string I tied a stone so that I would sink." The monkeys immediately tied strings around themselves, as the turtle said, and when all was ready they plunged into the water, never to tomb up again. And to this day, monkeys do not like to eat meat because they remembered the ancient story.
Did you enjoy the story, kids? Excellent! Now let us answer the following questions. Are you ready for number one question? Very good.
The first question: how old most likely were Monkey and Turtle, the main characters of the story? A. 3 to 4, B. 5 to 6, C. 7 to 8, and D. 9 to 10. Number 2. From what country did the story originate? A. Philippines, B. Malaysia, C. India, D. China. Number 3. Which of the following does not prove the country of origin of the story? A. Clothing of the characters, B. Linguistic accent, C. Actions and belief, D. Colorful setting. Number 4. Where did all the bananas of the monkey and the turtle go? A. Sold to the market, B. Eaten by the turtle, C. Given to all the children, or D. Buried in his farm. Last number. What characteristic did the monkey show? A. Business-minded, B. Hardworking, C. Clever, D. Service-oriented.
Let us read the story and answer the comprehension checkup. Are you ready? Excellent!
A friend in need is a friend indeed. Once upon a time, there lived a lion in a forest. One day, after a heavy meal, it fell asleep under a tree. After a while, there came a mouse and it started to play on the lion. Suddenly, the lion got up angrily and looked for those who disturbed its nice sleep. Then it saw a small mouse standing nearby, trembling with fear. The lion jumped on it and was about to kill the little mouse when it fervently asked for forgiveness. The lion took pity on the mouse and left it. The mouse ran away. On another day, the lion was caught in a net by a hunter. The mouse went there and cut the net to let the lion escape. This made the two of them very close friends. They lived happily in the forest afterwards.
Do you love it? Now, here are the questions that will make you understand the story better.
Number 1. What made the lion very angry with the mouse? A. It jumped noisily in front of the sleeping lion. B. It awakened the sleeping lion. C. It bit the lion's tail. Or D. It cried and cried for hunger. Number 2. Which of the following human qualities has the lion shown? A. Political. B. Nature loving. C. Forgiving. And D. Strong. Number 3. The story proves that both the lion and the mouse can blank. A. Lived in the forest. B. Not exist with human beings. C. Lived in harmony one place. D. Eat a bountiful meal. Last question. The qualities of the lion and the mouse suggest that A. People can also relate well with one another despite differences. B. We all need to nurture our natural resources, especially in forests. C. We should not be afraid of lions and mice, no matter what. D. Lions and mice are capable of loving other animals in the forest. That's all, kids. Thank you.
Are you done, kids? Very good. At this point, let us read another story.
A father and his sons, taken from the book of Luke, chapter 15, verses 11 to 32. A man had two sons. One day, the younger of the two demanded a share of his father's property that would belong to him when his father died. His father gave it to him, and after a few days, the boy left home on a long journey. Here, he wasted the money and lived a wild life. When the money was all spent, there came a famine, and he began to be in serious need. He found some work in looking after the pigs of a farmer in that district, but there was nothing he could eat except that the pigs ate. At last, he was so hungry and so hopeless that he started to consider who he was and what sort of person he had become. He saw that he was poorer than the poorest of his father's servants. Then he decided to return home. He planned to admit that he had done wrong and to ask his father to employ him as a servant, since he could not expect to be treated as a son any longer. So he made a long journey home. But before he could reach the house, his father saw him. He saw the boy's misery and ran down the road and welcomed him with affection. The boy began to speak of the wrong that he had done, but before he could ask to be employed as a servant, his father called for a robe of honor and put it on him. Then he gave him a ring and sandals to show that he was fully accepted and his son. and a feast was prepared so that everyone could share in his father's joy. The other son had been working on the farm. As he returned to the house, he heard the singing and the hand clapping and asked what had happened. His father came out and begged him to join in the feast. But he said, I have worked for you for years, yet you never made feast for me. Now you welcome this son of yours who had wasted your money? Then his father said gently, My boy, of course we must welcome him home. He is not only my son, as you call him, he is your brother. Come inside and share my joy. The one that was lost has now been found.
Did you enjoy the story? Very good. Now, as of course, we are going to answer the comprehension checkup.
Number 1. What is the country of origin of a father and his son's story? A. Japan. B. Philippines. C. Greece. D. Jerusalem. Number 2. Which of the following does not indicate the country of origin? A. Clothing of the characters. B. Linguistic accent. C. Presence of the sage. And D. The workaholic monster. Number 3. What kind of person was the son? A. Full of vices. B. Lazy. C. Industrious. D. Both A and B. Number 4. In what particular situation did the son realize his wrongdoing? A. Laziness. B. Hopelessness. C. Success. D. Stubbornness. Last number. How does the story regard the male gender character? A. Can work in the field. B. Major decision maker. C. Rumor monger. D. Lives in the field all day.
Now for our additional activity, watch your favorite teleserye and who among the characters you like most and why. Then write your answers in your notebook. That ends our lesson, kids. I hope you enjoyed it much. Bye!